This creepy story happened about 5 years ago when I lived in an apartment. Thinking about it still gives me the creeps. I don't exactly remember when it began, but a heavy thudding and screaming noise from my upstairs neighbor started bothering me every night. One day I finally lost patience with the noise, so I went upstairs and rang his doorbell. After a while, a 40-something man came out. He had red hair and eyebrows and blood-red eyes and ash-pale skin. It surprised me a little, but I told him, acting cool. "Hello, sir, I'm from downstairs." Without saying a word, he just stared at my neck, maybe for 20 seconds or something. And he licked his lips. His tongue looked red like blood. I felt very anxious, but pretending to be unconcerned, I continued. I've been hearing some screaming every night. Is everything okay here?" His eyes looked down at my neck, chest, and then my arms. Soon, he grinned broadly and said, "Give me a sec," then went back inside. I tried to peep inside the house through a narrow gap of the open front door, but it was too dark to see anything. I wondered how he got around in this dark place. A little later, I heard him walking back to me. He showed up and gave me a cup of juice. The juice was dark and blood red. He handed me the cup and nodded like he was saying drink it. However, the putrid smell made me want to vomit. I asked, "What the hell is this? Is this animal blood?" Suddenly, he stiffened his face and said, "Humans always judge by appearance. You haven't even tried it." He grinned, exposing teeth stained with a lot of red things. As I began to feel sick, I gave the juice back to him and quickly went back home, thinking he was probably some psychopath. After several days, I heard a voice from outside in the early morning.
"Tasty. So tasty."
I looked through the peephole, and there he was. He was drinking his red juice in front of my door. I shouted in fright.
"Holy shit! What the hell are you doing in front of my house in the middle of the night? And what the hell are you drinking?"
He shouted back.
"It's freshly squeezed blood. Want a drink?"
I violently opened the door to throw a punch in his face. I'm pretty big, over 6 feet tall, and he was maybe around 5 feet 3 inches tall, so I thought it would be easy to overpower him. However, as soon as I opened the door, he forcefully grabbed my jaw and poured the juice into my mouth. I struggled hard to get out, but he was overwhelmingly strong. The juice tasted bloody and disgusting, and that made me gag. Then, he held my nose with his hand. I couldn't help but swallow it, and I felt the metallic taste of blood. I started screaming and struggled, but he held my head hard and smashed me to the floor. Then, he brutally stuck a needle into my arm and started to draw blood. He squeezed it out into his cup and drank it up, and he shouted,
"Blood cocktail from different bodies. So delicious."
Eyes rolling in the back of his head, he kept shouting in ecstasy.
"Yes!"
And he showed me a picture of a young man. He had the best blood. Absolutely delectable. What do you think about him? Pretty nice, huh? And yours is pretty good too. Delicious. I shouted,
"Help! There's a vampire in my house!"
Then he whispered in my ear, "I need only 3 minutes to draw all the blood from your body. When somebody's here to help you, it's already done. Just be a good boy and I won't kill you." I shed tears seized by an enormous fear. He said, smiling, "You know when my happiest moment is? A moment like this, when I'm conquering a human. I know you are sad, but I am amazingly happy. Don't even think about screwing it up. Otherwise you'll be dead. Understood?" Then I passed out, feeling all the strength completely drained out of my body. When I woke up the next day, he was looking through his phone lying next to me. He mumbled to himself, seeing pictures of people on SNS. Damn, looks delicious. When he realized I was awake, he told me, "Thanks for the dinner last night. By the way, your blood is a bit disappointing. To make it pure, eat things like onions, carrots, tomatoes, and olive oil. Eat them all every day." Then, he said, walking out of my house with my house key in his hand, "Let's get along well." I was terrified and also furious, but I wouldn't dare call the police. He could have killed me any time if he wanted to. I thought about the way out of the situation over and over and came up with an idea. I planned to eat heaps of greasy food every day. I ate a lot of deep-fried food, oil, and butter, and all kinds of fats. I felt sick but didn't stop. And one day, early in the morning, he opened the door of my house and came inside, as if it was his place. Looking at me, he grinned widely and said, "Hey, look at you. What made you this fat? Now maybe you taste more flavorful, don't you?" He drew my blood and drank it up, but after a while, he threw up.
Ugh! Shit! Why is it so greasy?
With a painful expression on his face, he immediately rinsed his mouth. Right at that moment, I punched him in the face and squeezed his throat.
How's it now, you disgusting vampire? Don't be picky, asshole! You gotta eat fat too!
He threw me with an unbelievably powerful force and I flew off almost 2 meters. Then, he bit my wrist aggressively and sucked my blood, and I lost consciousness. When I woke up, my wrist was bandaged and he was sitting right next to me. "Because of your greasy blood, I couldn't satiate my thirst yet." He showed me a picture of a dead man with the neck cruelly bitten. "You know what? He died because of his stupid tricks just like you. He pissed me off and I sucked up all the blood to the last drop. After he was drained of blood, he was like a dry log. It was pretty fun. You want to be so too?" I shivered with desperate fear and also unbearable fury. Since that day, I had drunk a lot of alcohol before bed every night. And one night, he opened the door and came in like before, humming with a broad grin. "All right, let's see how clean your blood is now. Oh, look at your ruddy cheeks. Your blood must be flowing better." He started to drink my blood again, but then threw it up.
Ugh! Son of a bitch! Why did you drink at this hour?
While he was suffering, I hit him over the back of his head with a beer bottle. He collapsed, and I tied up his arms and legs. I yelled at him.
Why are you doing all this to me? Why me? Why my blood?
"I only drink the blood of young, pure, and healthy humans. Otherwise, I'll get a stomach ache." Huh, what a gourmet. "Hey, you don't need teeth since you only suck blood, right?" I opened his mouth to pull out his teeth with a plier. However, his teeth were rotten like those in a dead body. "What the—" At that moment, he shouted,
"Lucifer!"
He tried to tear off the rope with tremendous force. The rope was about to snap and I immediately ran away to the bathroom, absolutely terrified. I then called the police. Moments later, I heard him walking towards me, violently smashing the furniture in my house.
"Lucifer, my father, I thank thee for my daily meal."
He was now right around the bathroom. He shouted, smashing the door down.
Why must you make things so hard? Blood offering is not such a big deal. You're under my control anyway.
He was about to penetrate the door of the bathroom. I could see his fist brutally punching the door. I cried out. At that moment, we heard a siren getting closer and he quickly ran away. After a while, I also heard the police's shouts and gunshots. Then, it suddenly became silent. I walked out through the door and saw him being handcuffed by the police. However, there was also a policeman lying on the ground. The blood was squirting out of his neck. The officers shouted urgently.
"Damn, call an ambulance now! That bastard bit Mike's neck!"
The vampire was shot twice in his arm and leg, but seemed to be still fine. He shouted, being led away by the police.
"Send me blood to jail, or I'll bite your neck off too!"
Before long, I heard he was put in jail on charges of assault, false imprisonment, and murder of dozens of people. The shocking thing was that according to the police investigation, he was 83 years old. It was totally unbelievable as he looked like he was in his 40s. I moved out of my house right away. I had suffered from trauma every day for a while. I began to develop a fear of needles and would cry out whenever I saw a syringe. Whenever I saw somebody drinking something red, I unconsciously snatched it and threw it away. Once I even threw a punch at a guy in a vampire costume on Halloween. But after receiving steady psychotherapy, I've gotten much better now. 3 years later, I heard the news. He had rapidly aged and become a gray-haired old man in jail. Also, he was beaten by others from time to time as he continued to ask other inmates or guards for blood, and sometimes bite other prisoners' necks. Who the hell was he? Thinking of him still makes me shudder in horror, with a lot of question marks.